and welcome to discussion today on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Tina Jha. On the show today, we are going to talk about the model tenancy law. Now, in order to establish a framework for the regulation of rent and also to balance the rights and responsibilities of tenants and the landlords, and also to provide fast adjudication process for the resolution of disputes, the government has drafted the Model Tenancy Act 2020. This draft Model Act attempts to replace tenancy laws with standardized versions across the country. For this, suggestions have been sought from across the country from various stakeholders on the various provisions of the Bill of Course, and to discuss in detail about what these special provisions are of the Model Tenancy Act, how are these going to benefit the tenants as well as the landlords, what was the need of such a bill. We'll discuss all these aspects on the show today. And we are being joined in the studio by two special guests. They're joining us via Skype on the show. And let me introduce them to you. We have with us Mr. Yaduvendra Mathur. He's a former Additional Secretary, Niti Aayog. And Mr. Ajay Brahme, he's Advocate, Supreme Court. Thank you, sir, for joining us on this edition of discussion today. Mr. Ajay Brahme, let me begin the program today with you by understanding the special provisions of this Model Tenancy Act.
First of all, kindly, in fact, what you have stated is that it is a Model Tenancy Act, and that's the proper way to put it. So this is just a model being provided to various states, because land remains a subject matter of state.
Yes.
So it is up to the state to implement it. And so this will be something like a model given to them, that in case you follow this prototype, if I may say so, then perhaps the things will be better, as in the relationship between landlord and tenant will be better regulated. So this is essentially to regulate the relationship between tenant and landlord.
Yes.
Some of the salient features, if I may just put forward, it will be like the security deposit, for instance. So when it comes to the residential property, it cannot be more than 2 months. Likewise, when it comes to commercial property, then the security deposit has to be minimum 1 month. These are some of the, and then in case the tenants, don't vacate, then there'll be penalty imposed upon the tenant. So these are some of the ways. At the same time, landlord cannot take the rent in the, he cannot hike the rent in the middle of the tenure. Likewise, the landlord cannot ask the tenant to leave the premises in between the tenure. There has to be prior notice of 3 months before landlord can revise the rent. These are some of the provisions. There is one very good, these are some of the provisions. So if we were to examine the Model Tenancy Act, this is primarily to balance, I would say, the interest of both the sides. Because at times, the landlords also would be shy of giving their property on rent, especially those who go, let us say, abroad, those NRIs, for instance.
Yes, and there's a problem.
So they would be shy of giving their property in rent because they think that the tenant may not really leave the premises, or maybe he can, create some problems in the premises, encumber the premises. So these provisions, as I look at it, may perhaps ease this entire exercise, and then this will also boost up the confidence of the landlord to give their properties on rent. Now, from there, a natural corollary that comes out is that it may perhaps lead to a new segment in the business, new business segment in the economy, if I may say so. So if one were to look at, let us say, a nearby country, that is Singapore, or even in the West, there's one segment of economy. In fact, this is one of the good sources of income, which is called as property management. So all those people who own the property, there'll be one agency which will manage their property. They will enter into agreements with the tenants, and then they'll pass on the rent to the landlord, of course, after taking their commission or their professional fee. So now this will boost up the confidence of the landlords to to actually give their property on rent, and then those houses which would otherwise be left abandoned, they can actually be used for some purposes.
Yes.
So this will be a good this will be really a good step in the, for furtherance of the economy, for development of the economy. In any case, rental housing actually remains one of the very important aspect of the entire economy, especially in the urban areas. In fact, lots of people invest also their money for buying the properties. Now, once you have invested, then it shouldn't lie idle. Otherwise, your money is wasted.
Yes, certainly.
And it affects the economy. So therefore, I think that this may be the effect of a model tenancy law, in case it is implemented by the state. Of course, they can certainly tweak the provisions depending upon the circumstances over there. But some of the guidelines, some of the steps, some of the guidelines, for instance, like you cannot take the deposits, the security deposit, for more than 2 months. For instance, if one were to examine the situation of Bangalore, there the security deposit is as high as 10 months rent.
Similar with Mumbai, with cities like
that
Mumbai
is
as well.
very that becomes quite a burden to the tenants, especially those who migrate from some other place to Bangalore. And Bangalore's of late is more of a, it's a city where lots of migrants are there. So some of these provisions would actually help I would say the public at large.
Of course. So various provisions have been put into the bill to sort of strike a balance between the rights and responsibilities of both the tenants and the landlords, to also open up a sector for the economy. There are going to be challenges, of course, so we are going to discuss all of that in the course of the program. But coming to you, Mr. Mathur, what do you think was the need for such a bill? As he pointed out, there are several of urban properties which are lying vacant for fear that the landlords have that there might be illegal occupation. The tenants might just refuse to vacate the property. Apart from that, what was the urgent need for such a bill?
Thank you. I think it's an extremely interesting discussion, very contemporary, relevant. So the first thing to get is that, this is a crisis of plenty, and a crisis that has been caused by the rental laws being very, very archaic, very old. You see, the Rent Acts came into existence in the 1930s, and then 1950, 55, Delhi Rent Control Act. So these were all heavily biased in the favor of the landlord, and in the favor of the tenant. And the tenants could not be evicted. So it was a complete bias to the tenant. And what happened is that the landlords, so as per the 2011 census, about more than 110 lakh houses, urban houses, were lying vacant. And we have a massive problem in providing houses in urban areas. That is where the jobs are.
Yes.
Urbanization has been going up. It was 32% in 2011, and as compared to about 27% in 2001. And now the recent, if you take the latest figures, it's going to climb up to as high as nearly 50% by 2050. So India becoming 50% urbanized in the next 2 decades will cause a huge need for urban housing. And urban housing cannot be provided at a very individual one-to-one level. It has to become a segment of the business, like my colleague was mentioning in Singapore. So the whole business of rental housing has to really get a kickstart. It is not only the private sector, but the government also has got housing stock, but it is not put to use. So this amendment, this new Model Tenancy Act, which was drafted, it has been going on for many, many years, but it's only now that the Ministry of Urban Affairs, Housing, they've really put their heads together, and a very nice model act has been prepared, circulated to the states, available for public comments. I think the last date for getting comments is nearby. And very soon, like the Secretary of Urban Affairs, I saw in a press note, they're urging the state governments to start looking at this Model Act and to get into amending the state laws. The UTs are already very aggressively moving. So the short point is, this is the whole business of rental housing. And if you see, it is not just, it's a livelihoods issue. Urban areas, the kind of housing stock which is available to the lower income, to the non-formal sector of the economy is very pathetic. You have slums coming up, no water, no sanitation, no health, particularly in these corona times. You see the kind of challenges in urban areas that we will be confronted with if there is no availability of decent, clean, basic amenities. So the challenge is really to create a formalized, rental market, just like a hotel. So it's something like very cheap, but very well maintained hotels, something like a slightly longer tenures, 1 year, 3 year tenancies. And that business with a property manager, for the first time, provision has been given for a property manager who can manage the premises, represent the landowner in rent collection, repair, inspection on the behalf of the owner. It also provides that the property, if it is repossessed on the excuse of self-use by the owner, it cannot be re-let for 3 years without a court's permission. So, these are very clear provisions that somebody getting into the business of rental housing will actually do a good job, because he knows now he's into the business of a rental housing, and there will be competition, prices will come down, it will be clubbed with mobility solutions and decent, cheap, decent, well-maintained, hospitable accommodation, especially in urban areas, because that's where the livelihoods and the jobs will keep coming.
Yes.
For students, for professionals, for the informal migrants, so that sector is the real powerhouse of Indian economy. And this act, once implemented in spirit by the state governments, will unleash a construction boom. Existing housing stock can be rented out. The rental yields are very low. And so there is that mismatch that can disappear when a very formalized organized rental market will be developed. That is the purpose.
So multiple opportunities are going to open up.
Yes, absolutely. This is a game changer.
Mr. Ajay Brahme, we've been talking about the special provisions. Of course, we know the government has tried to ensure that both the tenants and the landlords benefit from the Model Tenancy Act. But do you think it's going to sort of resolve the age-old conflicts between the landlord and the tenants existing in different cities, considering, of course, also that, land is a state subject and the state hurdle is always going to be there?
See, the major challenge in any dispute between, or any conflict, as you said, between landlord and tenant is that in case the matter goes to the court, then everyone knows that it's going to be a civil matter, and civil matter, I think people know it takes so much of time. So that is something because of which even the landlords are actually shy of giving their properties. So because they know that in case the matter goes to the court, it may perhaps drag for years altogether. So a new authority, a new established setup is being advocated in this Model Tenancy Act law. So there will be one rent authority, after which the appeal will go to rent court or rent tribunals, and the order will have to be passed within 60 days of receiving the complaint. Now this time frame, that limited time frame which has been made a part of it, which has been provided. So this will, I think, curb the tendency of tenants also to unnecessarily, try to drag the matter to the court, because they just don't have any option.
Yes.
Now, there is one more provision. There is one section 34 in this Model Tenancy law which debars the jurisdiction of civil courts. So one has to necessarily go through these tribunals and rent courts only. Now that will actually, if you were to look at its effect, that will boost up the confidence of the landlords. They would know that yes, in case there is any dispute, then the matter can be resolved in a time bound manner. Although 60 days may or may not be implementable, because as you know, with our experience, I would say that lack of infrastructure becomes a major issue, as we have observed and experienced in the case of RERA.
Yes.
So in the RERA cases, for instance, the execution is a problem. Likewise, here also infrastructure may be a challenge, especially because it will have to be coordinated with several states that we have in the country. So infrastructure may become a problem. So I think in case these things are sorted out, in case enough allocation, budgetary allocation is done to develop adequate infrastructure, perhaps this will be, certainly as Mr. Mathur said, it may be actually a game changer.
So a separate regulator may ease off the burden of the civil court, sir. But we discussed on our program about RERA as well. Will it have a multi-window opportunity for both the tenants and the landlords? Or will it just be one authority which will be looking into all disputes related to property concerning the landlords and tenants?
That's an interesting question. In fact, in the model law itself, in this model tenancy law itself, it has been provided that provisions of Transfer of Property Act, then Contract Act, and other provisions, which were otherwise applicable in the cases of dispute between landlord and tenants, especially, Section 106, 107, 108, etc. of Transfer of Property Act, they will continue to apply. Likewise, most of the provisions of this model law actually start by saying that unless otherwise provided in the agreement, the law should be such, for instance, rent cannot be more than the rent paid by in the case of sublet, for instance, as Mr. Mathur was discussing about subletting. So in the case of subletting, the rent that the tenant might get from and after subletting the premises cannot be more than the rent which he pays to the landlord. So, unless, apart from these provisions, I would say other provisions, when it comes to, other clauses which govern the relationship between landlord and tenant, there the agreements would prevail. So Contract Act would prevail. Likewise, the provisions of Transfer of Property Act would prevail. Mm-hmm. So here you may not really have multiple options to go to civil court or to any other court, because there is by virtue of Section 34, you have ousted the jurisdiction of civil court.
Okay.
So one will have to necessarily go to these rent authorities and rent court, etc.
Yes. Okay.
And I think perhaps it's a good step also, because it's a specialized forum, and there is a principle in the law that's called as generally a specialibus non derivant. That's a Latin term. So in case there's a special provision which govern a particular problem, then you need to actually invoke those special provisions, unless of course otherwise provided in the act itself.
And so the pendency of cases is also going to reduce.
Opportunity. But one will have to go to this specialized tribunal only. So the challenge would be how to strengthen this special tribunal. As I said, infrastructure needs to be developed.
Okay, coming to you, Mr. Mathur, because you've spoken of the challenges. There will be, of course, in the days to come, there will be need to strengthen this particular system, the mechanism. Do you see states as a hurdle, sir? The first question, and the kind of other challenges that you see going forward once this actually is implemented?
Yeah, I think we have, thank you for that question. But before that, I would only like to add that in our discussion, we have actually missed out one very, important discussion, which is on the whole affordable rental housing complexes scheme.
Okay.
So I think the focus is not for very high-end litigationist, dispute seeking tenants and landlords. See, we are talking about hundreds and lakhs of very, poor, informal workers. We are talking not about that class which can, hire a lawyer. I'm sorry to say that, But that class of very litigated, that is not the reality on the ground. There are lakhs of people who come to urban areas. They are willing to pay a little rent. They're willing to pay rents on time. They are very low end. They will be thrown out by that landlord very easily. He will dare not go to a court. But the problem is that even after he pays a rent, he doesn't get water, he doesn't get sanitation. Nobody comes and cleans his kachi basti. He is made to live a life which is, very, very deplorable. So I think the whole purpose of this act is not to get so much caught up and spend precious time discussing some legal issues which will be there always, but to look at the impact, the development impact of the affordable housing rental complex scheme. And the finance minister has made specific provisions for this scheme in the economic package, which was dealing with COVID. And the guidelines to implement the affordable housing, affordable rental housing complex scheme has been circulated to the state governments. I'm told many state governments are already taking very proactive steps in this regard. Even state like Rajasthan, which one would say because of politics and all, no, they are moving very rapidly. So affordable rental housing in the country has taken off. Already there is a lot of interest in developing these schemes, getting the water, bijli. Many of these houses built by the state housing boards, they were all lying, they were not sold. Maybe they were of poor quality. So those are not being sold now, but being converted on rental model. Now you see, like I mentioned in the beginning, 110 lakh houses are lying vacant in urban areas. And that can be put to use immediately. It needs little repair, pani, bijli, and they are livable. 110 lakh families in urban areas can get a decent house.
Yes.
And that's the low-hanging fruit which this scheme is trying to provide.
So basically the thrust on promoting fairness in
this
rental housing.
This is all fair, they will be all regulated. And we are talking about, that informal sector which will now stay in a house. If they want to move out after 1 year, 6 months, they can vacate and move. They can change jobs. They will not have to, in a kachi basti, they spend nearly 6 months of their wages to make that kacha makan, and once they are thrown out because it is land which is not in their name. So that whole slum, the slums of India have to be stopped, and jobs in India have to be given to workers who can stay in decent, neat and clean, even though they may be very small one-room tenements. The Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana in urban areas has already taken off in a big way. The recent measures on taxation, on interest reduction are phenomenal. And I think those who cannot afford to take the loan, they can in the first stage take a rental housing and then check out. And as they grow slightly, they can then go in for their own house. So roti, kapda and makan, I think that challenge of makan with this reform scheme, state governments implementing it in the right spirit, will be a big game changer in the formalization of jobs and better living conditions in urban areas.
Fair enough, sir. It's going to be a game changer in terms that it's going to fix accountability, it's going to bring transparency. The most valid point that you made, that it aims to promote fairness in affordable rental housing. But going forward, what are the challenges that you see in its implementation, effective implementation, sir?
So for one, the housing boards had gone into disrepute. They were challenged by the private sector. And the housing boards in most states fell into disrepute, and they were nearly shut down. I think they are being now again, revitalized, and they have a role to play, because affordable housing schemes on government land can be only cheap, because if you load the cost of land, then for the private developer, there are challenges. I know for a long time, we have been struggling on how to allow government land to be used by the private developers for affordable housing. There are issues there. So my sense is the public sector will have to come in again and bring in the stock. But at the same time, the management, the provisioning of services, the municipal bodies will have to, extend there. So we need better urban governance. So because it's not only the building of the house, but the maintenance of the rental housing that will be a challenge. That is why this property manager has come. And I think this will be an opening for many entrepreneurs to get into the business of rental housing. Already a lot of enthusiasm has come.
Okay.
New technologies are coming. So even rental housing can bring in new technological breakthroughs and rapidly construct houses which are, neat and clean with modern amenities, an internet connection, a public Wi-Fi. So that digital India, that, aspirational India, that needs a roof over their head.
Yes.
And
So
that quality
pushing
of
towards
living
a
is
quality
what
of life, basically.
Exactly. So the Prime Minister has been very categorical that it is the quality of the ease of living in urban areas that is a right, and that's not like a favor we are doing. Everybody needs clean drinking water, everything. So thank you so much for your questions.
Yes. So, having said that, Mr. Ajay Brahme, I would like to take one concluding remark from you. It all looks very good on paper. The kind of challenges in implementing it have been put forth by Mr. Mathur. But are there any other clauses that you find contentious that could be objected to by the landlords and the tenants in the days to come? Because it's open to suggestions, it's open to objections. What are the kind of objections that you think both these associations are going to put forward?
I think those areas I gave, for instance, I gave you an example of Bangalore. So, where the landlords take 10 months deposit. Now, this is actually a matter of practice, if I may call it, a matter of habit, I think. So to change that habit is itself a challenge. And as we discussed, that this is actually a subject matter of state. So in those states where, let us say, the security deposits were higher, or in case there is any such suggestion which goes contrary to the prevailing I would say habits, or rather prevailing practice that the landlord and tenants adopted, I think that may be a challenge in case you come up with such conflicting, because it takes so much of efforts to change the habit, if I may say. I mean, what I'm trying to say is, you're trying to change the entire practice of a particular state. In any case, we as we have realized that this is a subject matter of state. So perhaps some teething problems may be there in the initial implementation. Besides, of course, the infrastructure problem, as I look at
that you pointed out.
With due respect, India, I think, at times is an over-legislated country. And perhaps that becomes a problem in its implementation.
Yes.
So, instead of creating so many structures, so many laws, you need to focus also upon developing adequate infrastructure to implement those laws. Implementation really becomes a problem.
Yes.
I think that is a major challenge.
Okay, so with that, I'll have to call it a wrap on this edition of Discussion Today. Thank you to both my guests for joining us on the program today, putting things into perspective for us and our viewers. That's it from us on this edition of the program. We'll be back same time tomorrow now with another topic where we can discuss with experts and put into perspective things for us and for you as well, and analyze the subject for you. You can also watch our program on YouTube and send us your feedback and suggestions as well. Thank you very much for your time.
Defeat coronavirus. Let us always remember, wear a mask. Wash hands.